Barack Obama makes Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and these other egomaniacs look normal. His ego, the planet is too small for Barack Obama's ego. It is. He's the biggest narcissist on the planet. And I will prove it to you. Let's take a look. Here he is with another great CNN host, Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper became famous interviewing Stormy Daniels. That was his big interview. Let's take a look. Go.
It's been more than 4 years since the Obamas left the White House. It was a moment the former president describes as bittersweet in his book.
Hello, everybody.
Partly because they were leaving, and partly because of what he thought might happen to the country.
Oh, poor thing.
You write about Sarah Palin, about her brief ascendancy, right. And you talk about dark spirit.
Are they wearing matching shirts? Matching pants and matching suit? Oh, it looks pretty close. Sarah Palin, what does she have to do with anything? Guess it doesn't matter. Go ahead.
And lurking on the edges of the Republican Party, coming center stage.
Yeah, she's lurking. Sarah Palin's lurking. You know, these conservatives, they're lurking on the edges of the... But Barack Milhouse Benito Obama has never lurked. No. Go ahead.
Did you ever think it would get this dark?
No. I thought that there were enough guardrails institutionally.
Oh, the man who was buddies with numerous domestic terrorists. Oh, yeah. He thought there were guardrails institutionally, don't you know? Domestic terrorists, by the way, who tried to blow up the Capitol building. These are not just any domestic terrorists. And, of course, his minister, now that was a sweet guy, too. Railing on and on about the Jews and white people and so on. He thought there were guardrails, you know. Go ahead.
Even after Trump was elected, that you would have the so-called Republican establishment who would say, okay, you know, it's a problem if the White House doesn't seem to be concerned about Russian meddling.
Oh, whoa. This is amazing to me, and I just want to stop a second here. Putin's walking all over Biden right now. Biden surrendered the pipeline to Putin. And you know what Putin's doing after Biden surrendered the pipeline? He's threatened to end the joint Russia-United States space station. And we don't have the capacity to use that space station right now because we stupidly allowed the Russians to be basically our bus system up and back to the space station. And Putin just did the open skies. He just killed that, in which both air forces are free to fly over each country to see what we have or to use other advanced technologies to see what we're doing and so forth. He ended that. This is after Biden gave him the damn pipeline. So let's not pretend. Those sanctions that are in place were put in place by Donald Trump. And there's not a single investigation that has found that Donald Trump sold out to anybody. It's the Bidens who made their money selling out to one foreign regime or foreign corporation after another. Not the Trump family, but this is amazing to me. He's sitting there trying to figure it out. The fact of the matter is, Trump didn't do anything outside the boundaries. When a court would rule, he followed a court. If he didn't like the ruling, he would appeal. He followed the law, he followed the rules, he didn't do anything. What he did differently was, he would not accept no where he wanted yes, and where yes could work. Not a matter of violating the law or not knowing boundaries. That's how we got our vaccines. That's how we got a number of things in place. A secure border. He wouldn't accept what the bureaucracy and the rhinos and the Democrats have been doing in Washington. And he went his own way, and he was successful. This is what angers them. Go ahead.
It's a problem if we have a president who's saying that, you know, neo-Nazis marching in Charlotte.
You see how he's grabbing. I don't know how many more times, for Barack Obama, it wouldn't matter, how many more times I can go through that transcript word for word about what Trump said. Yeah, it's a problem if neo-Nazis are marching, and the president, Trump, he denounced the neo-Nazis, he denounced the Klan, he's got Jewish kids and grandkids in his family. There's no question about what he said. I just wish Barack Obama would have denounced Antifa and Black Lives Matter and the others who were destroying our cities. He does these interviews now, but he didn't do any interview then condemning any of it. Matter of fact, he and Michelle were putting out rather supportive tweets, as I recall. But look how they stretch and they spin, because Trump didn't actually do anything outside the bounds in the sense of the law, in the sense of some kind of violate some morality or something like that. He worked within the constitutional bounds, and he did everything he could to advance a solid agenda. Go.
People on both sides. You know, that's a little bit beyond the pale. And the degree to which we did not see that Republican establishment say, hold on, time out, that's not acceptable, that's not...
What's not acceptable? Hold on, time out, that's not acceptable. It is, I mean, this guy's fundamentally, he's an American Marxist. Fundamentally, those who support him are, in the Democrat Party, the same thing. They're throwing mud balls in every direction they possibly can. The things they've said about the American people, what they've done to women's sports, what they've done to the border, which is outrageous, what they're doing to our economic and financial systems, what they want to do to our election system. And then he dares to complain about Trump. Just keep something in mind. They view all of us this way. They lie and defame all of us. See, we're all white supremacists, apparently. Even if you're not white, if you don't throw in with the American Marxist mob, you're a white supremacist. What they call you is a colonialized white supremacist. That's the phrase they use for blacks, Hispanics, and others who aren't white, but also don't want to burn down our society. Go ahead.
Rather be cowed into accepting it, and then finally culminating in January 6th, where what originally was, oh, don't worry, this isn't going anywhere, we're just letting Trump and others vent. And then,
what do you mean we're letting Trump and others vent? This was a spontaneous protest. You had a few hundred people that broke into that building. And what's being done to these people is a disgusting outrage under our American system, quite frankly. Now, one of the people who broke in had a weapon. Now, one of the people who broke in shot anybody. No excuses. I'm just showing their degrees and their degrees, unlike Portland and unlike the attack on the White House and unlike the attack on our inner cities and so forth, where Barack Obama has still said not a damn thing, except back one of the groups, Black Lives Matter, that was involved in it. But culminating in January 6th. So this is Obama with the incitement of the insurrection BS. Go ahead.
You now have large portions of an elected Congress going along with the falsehood that there were problems with the election.
And the leadership of the GOP, briefly for one night when they still had this sort of sense of fear in them, going against the president.
And then poof, suddenly everybody was back in line. Now,
everybody's back in line. Unbelievable. Back in line for what? The Democrats are trying to exploit this now, and they're not going to stop. This is what the Democrats do. When you have the vice president, now the president of the United States, say this is bad as Pearl Harbor, or it was worse than 9/11, where 3,000 Americans were murdered by terrorists, by Al-Qaeda. It is disgusting. It is outrageous. Go ahead.
The reason for that is because the base...
Notice he's not asked a single damn question about what Biden's doing to the country. Nothing. Nothing. And he's not pressed on a single thing. He's not pressed about his administration. He's not pressed about his library where people are protesting it. They don't want it in their neighborhood. He's not pressed about his enriching himself after his presidency. He's not pressed about what's going on the border, his role behind the scenes with Biden and his people. It's not questioned about anything. It is happy times. It's good times. It's a fluff interview. Go ahead.
The base believed it because this had been told to them not just by the president, but by the media that they watch. Ooh. And nobody stood up and said, stop.
The media that they watch. What are 3 cable channels? Pretty much. Fox, OAN, and Newsmax. And they've got everything else. Tell me, do conservatives have a network? No. I mean, they control every major newspaper in this country, every major newspaper, There's a few editorials here from time to time that are good in some of these newspapers, but I mean major newspapers, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and on and on and on. I'm not talking about the Washington Examiner, Washington Times, or even the New York Post. But beyond that, they run everything. But it's too much, you see. Nobody told them to stop. Nobody told them to stop. And who's telling him to stop? When you have Barack Obama in front of you, and you're asking him questions about the other party, about the former president, what kind of an interview is that? Ask Barack Obama about Barack Obama. Ask him about his agenda. Ask him about his enrichment. Ask him about those questions. Ask him if he supports what his party's done when it comes to the anti-Semitic slurs or the un-American slurs, or what Joe Biden has said about the American people. Do you agree with that? Do you really agree that most of the people, many of whom elected you, are systemically racist? Do you believe what's going on the border is good, where you have little kids being raped and women being raped and coyotes bringing people into this country and getting paid for it? Is that something you support? And let's look at H.R. 1 and S1. Let's take a good look at those bills that would ensure that Democrats win and Republicans lose. Why do you folks call this a racist when these state legislatures oppose this, and Jim Crow and so forth? There's a myriad of questions that could be asked Barack Obama rather than, what do you think of Trump? Pretty much. Go ahead.
This is enough. This is not true. I won't say nobody. Let me correct it. There were some very brave people who did their jobs, like the Secretary of State in Georgia, who was then viciously attacked for it. And all those congressmen started looking around and they said, you know what, I'll lose my job. I'll get voted out of office.
What is he talking about? I have no idea what he's talking about. How about those cases in Pennsylvania, Barack? This is why I get very frustrated. I would love 30 minutes to question Barack Obama. I would love 30 minutes to question the bobblehead. I would love 30 minutes to question these people. And I wouldn't allow them to, filibuster, because I couldn't get the questions in that I want to get in. But this is really quite absurd. This is why nobody watches it. It's a special. So you saw Stelter questioning Psaki. Now you see Anderson Cooper questioning Obama. Have you learned anything? Of course not.
For all this and much more, sign up for Levin TV.